أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Respected brothers and sisters in Islam and those in humanity, elders, scholars of the community, may peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon you all. My sincerest condolences to you on this third day of Muharram, on the tragedy of Imam Hussain, Sayyid Shuhada, Aba Abdullah alayhi salam. On behalf of the Manchester Community and Youth Project, it is an enormous honor for us to be hosting you in these blessed nights, in these Majalis of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. We are at your service. As is tradition, we open and begin the ceremony, the Majlis, by recitation of some powerful and holy words, the words of Ziyarat Ashura and the words of the Holy Quran. I'd be enormously honored if you would recite a salawat and welcome Qari Mustafa Al-Ali, our respected guest, to begin the program with these recitations. If you wish to follow the recitation of the Holy Quran, the mushafs are available, and if you wish to follow Ziyarat Ashura, inshallah, it will be displayed on the projector. So I hand over now to my respected brother, Qari Mustafa Al-Ali. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيدي الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها. ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبا ولعن الله ابن مرجانة ولعن الله عمر بن سعد ولعن الله شمرا. ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك. فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب آثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأوا إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم والبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبتي، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية، وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين، على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله، في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم العن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد، وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم العن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم العن يزيد خامسا، والعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانا وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد أنزلنا إليكم آيات مبينات ومثلا من الذين خلوا من قبلكم وموعظة للمتقين. الله نور السماوات والأرض. مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح المصباح في زجاجة، الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار نور على نور يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
Another salawat. وعجل فرجهم. Thank you, Brother Mustafa, for that beautiful recitation of Surah An-Nur, one of the most beautiful verses that you just had the pleasure of reciting of the whole Holy Quran, and obviously a beautiful recitation of Ziyarat Ashura. Please thank Brother Mustafa once more for his efforts by reciting a warm salawat. So brothers and sisters, based on the feedback and the requests that we received from you, we began the Majlis on time at 6:45. MashaAllah, there's some of you who are here, but there's many of you who are not here in this hall. So I believe that if you have the privilege and the honor of attending the Majlis of Sayyid Shuhada, the Master of Martyrs, and you have the right to give feedback to us as the organizers, I think it would be fair to say, and this is not a criticism of anybody, that we as the organizers too have the right to give some feedback to you, which is, you requested a 6:45 start, we made a 6:45 start. If you are not here, we will still carry on and begin the Majlis. I hope you understand where we are coming from, and I hope you don't take this personally, just as we didn't take your feedback personally. I hope that is clear, and I hope you understand that. We said on the first day, that this is the Majlis of Sayyid Shuhada, and the first to attend the Majlis of Sayyid Shuhada is the mother of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And we said on the first day that the first to attend the Majlis of Imam Hussain is the Imam of our time, Imam al-Hujjah alayhi salam. They are the hosts of this Majlis, and it is befitting their station that they as hosts arrive first to welcome their guests. So I guess the ball is now in your court to see how you respond in this regard with your attendances. I hope this is not taken personally, but rather in the same spirit as the feedback you gave us. Salawat. Just a few housekeeping issues and announcements. We have very limited parking on site. Our volunteers are trying their utmost, and they're here often an hour and a half before everybody else to make it a smooth process. So I would request humbly that, as well as the fact that they are volunteers for the Majlis, they are also azadars of Sayyid Shuhada. So kindly treat them with respect. Kindly don't get into arguments with them if the car park is full. If the car park is full, it means the car park is full. As far as advice on parking, we advise you to be here on time so you can comfortably find a parking space. We are looking at nearby car parks to see if they can be signposted to you. And inshallah, when that information is available, we will post out. We advise you to look at the parking instructions yourself. If you're driving, you should know whether it's a place you can park in or not. So I think there's 15 or 20 of you who have received parking tickets. Unfortunately, we can't advise you on where you park. This is something you need to be sensible about. I hope that too is understood. Salawat. I'd now like to invite my next guest to come forward. I can't spot her or see her in the audience. She's a few minutes away, so I guess it's just me talking to you. Or we can play something as a filler, I suppose, before Mu'mineen and Mu'minat arrive. Salawat.
Hussain, 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 حبيبي حسين، 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 حبيبي حسين، 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 حسين.
Thank you for playing that tribute to Sayyid Shuhada. The name of Imam al-Hussain itself is intoxicating, that you can just keep saying Hussain and not get tired. I'd now like to invite a couple of the young members of this Majlis to come forward and pray their tribute to Sayyid Shuhada. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Sister Mahaveen. Please come up and recite. Please welcome her with the salawat.
Our home is Karbala, where we fought, we Shia, Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. We will never let it fall. When we see it, we stand tall. Salutate it, then we call. To you, Hussein, help us all. When we see it, we stand tall. Salutate it, and then we call. To you, Hussein, help us all. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. In Muharram, every wall has this flag upon the walls. We saw it when we were small. We cried Hussein when we crawled. In Muharram, every hall has this flag hung on the walls. We saw it when we were small. We cried Hussein when we crawled. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Oh Hussein, just like Abbas, we'll plant this flag with our hands, one for every grain of sand, throughout each and every land. Oh Hussein, just like Abbas, we'll plant this flag with our hands, one for every grain of sand, throughout each and every land. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. We now raise our hands to you, pledge our promises that we'll do everything that you said to. This flag we will stay true to. We now raise our hands to you, pledge our promises that we'll do everything that you said to. This flag we will stay true to. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. In Karbala we all come together and stand as one, and proclaim under the sun that you, Hussein, you have won. In Karbala we all come together and stand as one, and proclaim under the sun that you, Hussein, you have won. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. This flag's our identity, it runs through our families, from Abbas to the Mahdi, flying for eternity. This flag's our identity, it runs through our families, from Abbas to the Mahdi, flying for eternity. Our home is Karbala, we're the youth of the Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Our home is Karbala, with you for Shia. Hussein's flag is our treasure, we will fly it forever. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Thank you, Sister Mahveen Fatima. I would now like to invite Sister Kissa Fatima to recite and pay her tributes to Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Please welcome her with a loud salawat.
Hussain al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussain, Hussain al-Shahid, Shahid al-Hussain, Hussain al-Gharib al-Gharib al-Hussain, Hussain al-Shahid, Shahid al-Hussain. دہائی دہائی خدا را دہائی یہ دشت بلا میں ہے کیسی تباہی بہایا ہے کس نے یہ خون محمد قیامت یہ دائیں ہے کس نے لائے جوان و بزرگ کو مارا گیا ہے شہیدوں میں شامل ہے ننھا سپاہی حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین شہید شہید الحسین کیا جشن برپا یوں اہل آواز نے شہیدوں کے لاشوں پہ ڈنکے بجائے جلا ڈالے آل محمد کے خیمے سکینہ کے منہ پر تماچے لگائے جو بیمار تھا اس کا بستر نہ چھوڑا نبی زادیوں پر بھی در چلائے حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین شہید شہید الحسین حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین شہید شہید الحسین اسی اپنے مرکز سے بنت محمد سیاہ شب کی چادر میں چہرہ چھپا کر کہیں کربلا میں تو اس نے یہ دیکھا ہے بوزیلا کرتے میں ایک لاش پہ سر بدن سارا ٹھیروں سے چلنی پدا ہے لہو میں ہے ڈوبا سارا پر حسین الغریب الغریب الحسین حسین شہید شہید الحسین صلوات.
Thank you so much. That's your phone. Don't forget your phone. Thank you to both the young sisters for their contributions to the Majlis, for being here on time and for reciting and paying their tributes to Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Please recite a salawat so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may increase their tawfiqat. Salawat. I'd now be honored if Sister Zara Mahabis is in the audience and if she could step forward and pay her tribute to Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Please welcome her with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum. Our condolences to the Imam of our time and to all as we commemorate the tragedy of Karbala. Raise your voices with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We write letters to you as we yearn your presence. Letters left unaddressed as your whereabouts remain unknown to us. We search for your footsteps in the dust and wonder. How many lovers passed before crossing your path? May we witness the hour of your return. On these nights, our longing for you burns. We remember your grandfather and the letters that begged for him, an allegiance pledged in ink, but their words would sink through their paper-thin promises. In their palms they crushed roses. Ya Mahdi, it's been 1,000 years. Each inch of the earth has felt your tears, and in response to your pain, we proclaim, Labbaik ya Hussain. In response to your pain, we proclaim, Labbaik ya Hussain, we grieve with you. Our grief is tied in knots around the silver bars that enclose Hussein's grave. We flock to him in waves, and in the sea of people, we search for you. The last piece of Muhammad, we place our right hand on our head, your name a crown upon our head, but your absence a shame that hangs our neck. As life without you passes, the flames of Karbala spread and goodness turns to ashes, and in the smell of smoke, our memories provoked, we see the bodies of burnt babies. The screams of Atiqa echo, and as the screams get louder, evil laughs and boasts prouder. And when asked, the liars swear there are no innocents there. The fire grows, it inches towards our clothes. Women cling to their hijab for which Fatima bled. Women cling to their hijab on the lonely path Zeinab led. Behind her we follow, a trail of tears that lead to the house of sorrows. Together we weep. The storms of the past cast the darkest shadows. The fire grows, the tents burn, to Karbala we return. Fate stalls, Hussain calls, is there any who will help me? He stands lonely. Is there any who will help me? He stands lonely. If only others came to his aid, if only. He turns to Allah, though his back is broken. Hayya ala al-falah, he hurries to salvation. Ya Mahdi, we know this month crushes your lungs and loneliness burns your chest. On your head you place Sajjad's burnt turban and swear to never forget. Perhaps here, by our side you sit, next to Fatima, beneath her cloak you're hid, and to your grandmother we implore, lead us to our Saviour's door. We scour prophecies, your people ask, how long will injustice last? And we find, before the 12th hour arrives, a year feels like a month like a week like a day, and an hour passes like the flicker of a flame. And if, after all this tragedy, we still do not see, then the biggest crime is that death did not awaken us to the passage of time. Ya Mahdi, we cannot blame you for your absence. We had the best of leaders once. Their torture is now our soul's thirst. As some learn to love water when throats become dry. Some learn to love truth through the sting of a lie, and some learn to love when love is absent from the eye. Some learn to love when love is absent from the eye. Salawat.
Thank you, Sister Zahra, for your beautiful words. Please thank her with a loud salawat. I believe now there is a short clip. I think it's been played, but it's going to be played again. If the AV team...
Hussain, 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 Hussain. حبيبي حسين 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 حبيبي حسين 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 حسين.
Thank you for playing those clips. They contained some of the appeals and campaigns that the Manchester Community and Youth Project is currently engaged in this Muharram. So as well as the Majalis here in Manchester, the Manchester Community and Youth Project is supporting impoverished communities in Pakistan and in Iran and other places with support to host Majalis and have Tabarruk in these Majalis and various projects related to water under the name of Sabil of Imam Al-Hussain alayhi salam. There are various villages which are only in receipt of aid in terms of help through no other organization but us at the Manchester Community and Youth Project. So if you wish to support a Majlis for a very, very poor community who doesn't have the resources, then you can sponsor a majlis for as little as £100, £50, £10. Doesn't matter the sum, because it goes a long way for that community. Also, we are putting water wells and water pumps. This is an ongoing service that we provide to the community. So if you wish to honor your marhumeen, you can put on water pumps at a cost of £100, serving one household which does not have clean running water. There are a few other campaigns included in that clip. Then perhaps we can revisit some of those on another night like this one. You can find out about more of our projects at those screens at the back, or if you speak to one of the volunteers, you can do so at the stalls, and they will give you more detail and information about our work. And also, if you wish to support this Majlis with Tabarruk, donations to support the food, for example, or sponsor a night in honor of perhaps your marhumeen, then you can also speak to the fundraising stall, and they will collect the names of your marhumeen and display them every night on the slides for Fatiha. So those were some of the general housekeeping announcements for now. I'd now be honored if I could ask my brother, dear Sayyid Khamis Abbas Razwi, to step forward and pay his tribute to Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Please welcome him with a loud salawat.
صل على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you. پھر بھی صلوات.
کربلا سے جو میری سمت ہوائیں آئیں، کربلا دیر تک گری آؤ ماتم کی صدائیں آئیں، کربلا سے جو میری سمت ہوائیں آئیں، پھول مہکے جو بہاروں میں، تو سوچا میں نے پھول مہکے جو بہاروں میں تو سوچا میں نے کن شہیدوں کے لیے سرخ قبائیں کربلا سے جو میری سمت ہوائیں آئیں آسمانوں سے جو ٹکرائی ہے فریاد رباب آسمانوں سے جو ٹکرائی ہے فریاد رباب قبر اصغر پہ برسنے کو گھٹائیں کربلا سے جو میری سمت ہوائیں آئیں خاک اڑتی رستے میں بڑی دیر طلب خاک اڑتی رہی رستے میں بڑی دیر طلب بیبیوں کو جو کبھی یاد ردائیں کربلا سے جو میری سمت ہوائیں آئیں دیر تک گری آؤ صدائیں آئیں کربلا سے
اللہم صلی
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you, Brother Khamis, for that tribute to Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. Please thank Brother Khamis for his efforts by reciting aloud salawat. May I inquire, because I'm not sure, if Sayyid John is here in the audience. I can't see him, and nor can I see Sayyid Mahdi. If one of the volunteers could confirm if they're present, then we can proceed, inshallah, with the program. Just a few other housekeeping announcements. We've now added an extra room to the mother and baby facility outside. So if you have young children and you wish to listen to Majlis outside, you can, in fact, you should go and sit with your children in the tents, in the marquees outside. We welcome the fact that you bring young ones to the Majlis, and we understand that they might find it a bit overwhelming at times. We have made this facility available and improved it over the last 2 days a bit more. So kindly use that facility. It's there for you to use. As far as the children's workshop is concerned, the doors for that close at 7:30 and the workshop finishes at 9 o'clock sharp. Another announcement related to parking. Kindly leave the front rows, front parking spaces, make them available for those who are limited in their mobility or perhaps are disabled. So that is another request, a humble request from the volunteers and from the management of this Majlis. As you know, that we're using a very nice venue. Obviously, it's quite costly and it's quite expensive to hire such a venue. And if you wish to contribute towards supporting this Majlis, then please come and speak to one of the volunteers, or you can donate through tapping your cards on the way out on the card machines, or you can speak to any of the volunteers and they will be carrying a badge, and that badge will have a QR code and you can scan it and donate through PayPal. So that is also a facility that is available. You've been hearing about our work as an organization over the last few nights through the videos and the clips that we have. And if you wish to support us as an organization on an ongoing basis, then I encourage you to fill out one of these standing orders so that we can sustain our work on a more long-term basis. You can support us by as little as £5, £10, whatever is convenient for you a month. And that £5, £10, £15, if that's more convenient, that does go a long way. For example, with £15 or £20 a month, you can sponsor the education of one orphan in Pakistan, or their books or something like that. You can choose whichever cause that you wish to support. Salawat. I have now a very, very small clip or a presentation that we will show as our respected Sayyid and as our remaining reciter arrives. So if I could ask the AV team to kindly display, if possible, the call to action.
Embrace the path of 313. Imam Jafar al-Sadiq alayhi salam said, among the signs of the Mahdi's reappearance, 313 men, strong as the warriors of Badr, will join him. They will come from different directions, quickly responding to his call. This Muharram, MANCOM embarks on a sacred mission to honor the timeless legacy of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, along with fostering the spirits to join the companions of the Imam of our time. Our goal is to unite the Mu'mineen, each contributing £313 to support the commemorations of the Muharram Majalis. Let's nurture the spirit of Karbala in our youth and community, preparing our hearts for the return of our Imam. Let's embrace the spirit and path of 313 and revive the Azadari of Aba Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam. Your contribution not only supports the Majalis, but also strengthens our collective commitment to keeping the essence of Karbala alive in the hearts of future generations. Stand with us. Let's become one of the 313.
So this is one way for you to support the Majlis. Any donation in the name of Imam Sahib al-Zaman that you wish to give, you can give as part of the 313 campaign. Another way to support the Majlis is through the purchase of our merchandise t-shirts honoring the 72 companions of Imam al-Hussain with the number 7 and 2 made up of their names, or the Abul Fadl al-Abbas t-shirt which honors the sacrifice of Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. We have also on order and on delivery some warm clothing, hoodies, which honor Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam. So these are ways of helping this Majlis, as well as some of the Mu'mineen who have designed some of this merchandise, which we will be showcasing in a video in one of the later nights. You can go and look at the stalls and browse at your leisure after the Majlis. I'd be honored if you could kindly invite our reciter, Sayyid John Rizvi. I can see him there in the audience. Please welcome John Bhai with a loud salawat.
ताजिल ज़हूर इमाम ज़बान बुलंदतर सलावत। आप सबकी जानिब से अपनी जानिब से जनाब सईदा की बारगाह में एक सलाम हदिया कर रहा हूँ, पेश कर रहा हूँ, इस उम्मीद से कि जनाब सईदा पुरसे को कबूल व मंजूर फरमाएंगे अपनी बारगाह में। जो करबला मौला की ज़ियारत के लिए रवाना होंगे, परवरदिगार उनको हर साल अपनी ज़ियारत नसीब फरमाएं, और जो कुछ वजूहातों की वजह से करबला मौला नहीं जा सकते, इस साल परवरदिगार उनको जल्द अज जल्द अपनी ज़ियारत से एक दिल की गहराइयों से नारा सलावत। क्या रहा ख़ैमों में शेख के एक उदासी रह गई,
رہا خیموں میں شیخ کے ایک اداسی رہ گئی کیا رہا خیموں میں شیخ کے ایک اداسی رہ گئی کیا رہا خیموں میں شیخ کے ایک اداسی رہ گئی ارے صرف رونے کو محمد کی نواسی رہ گئی اور سج گئی قاسم کے ٹکڑوں سے ادھر کر بو بالا سج گئی قاسم کے ٹکڑوں سے ادھر کر بو بالا ارے ماں ادھر بیٹے کی دلہن کو سجاتی رہ گئی اور چھینتا تھا شمر چادر اوڑے زینب بار بار چھینتا تھا شمر چادر اوڑے زینب بار بار ارے اپنی چادر کے محافظ کو بلاتی رہ گئی ہاں کیا رہا خیموں میں شیخ کے ایک اداسی رہ گئی اور ہر تماچے پر سکینہ ہر تماچے پر سکینہ منہ پہ رکھ کے منگا ارے ہر تماچے پر سکینہ منہ پہ رکھ کے ننھے ہاتھ نیل رخ ساروں کے غازی کو دکھاتی رہ گئی اور قید میں بالی سکینہ کو ملا بابا کا سحر قید میں بالی سکینہ کو ملا بابا کا سحر منہ پہ منہ رکھ کے جو سوئی ماں ہلاتی رہ گئی اور مادر اصغر نہ بیٹھی سائے میں اصغر کے بعد ارے سائے میں آئی जिंदा लाश बाकी रह गई। और मुसलमानों तुम्हारी, ए मुसलमानों तुम्हारी गैरत क्या मर गई। ए मुसलमानों तुम्हारी गैरत क्या मर गई। अरे मुसलमानों तुम्हारी गैरतें क्या मर गई। तुम तमाशाई थे ज़ैनब, अरे तुम तमाशाई थे ज़ैनब, मुँह छुपाती रह गई। हाँ क्या रहा ख़ैमों में शहर के, एक उदासी रह गई। ताजिल ज़हूर इमाम ज़मान बुलंदतर सलावत।
Salawat. Thank you, John Bhai, for that beautiful tribute to Imam Al Hussain alayhi salam. Please thank him with a loud salawat. A number of mu'mineen have contributed to these programs in honor of their loved ones. I'm going to read some names, and there will be some names on the projector, on the slides. So if, as I read the names, I'd be honored if you would kindly put your hands together and recite a Surah Al-Fatiha for the souls of the marhumeens of these families. So the marhumeen of the families of Dr. Tariq and Dr. Rubina Shah, marhumeen of the family of Dr. Nasir Ali, marhumeen of the family of Brother Qalbi Abbas, marhumeen of the Sheikh family, marhumeen of Dr. Ali Ahmad's family, Haj Abdul Karim Rumi and Haja Bahia Sultan, Haj Sadiq Taqi, Haja Fatima Abbas, Abdul Hussain Abdul Amir, Musa Ja'far Abbas, Naziha Salman, and Batul Hamoud. I think there might be some extra names on the slides, but as well as these mu'mineen, I'd kindly request that you remember in your du'as any mu'mineen who are in difficulty, are ill, in particular our respected scholar Sayyid Fadil Milani, who is critically ill and currently in the ICU. So for the shifa of Sayyid Fadil Milani, as well as these marhumeen, a Fatiha. Salawat. As I mentioned yesterday, around 7 to 8 years ago, I myself wrote a short narrative tracking the journey and the movement of Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam from the 8th of Zil Hijjah up till his burial on the 13th of Muharram. Today it is the 3rd of Muharram. The tribe of the lion, Banu Asad, and the birth of a city. It is the 3rd of Muharram. The caravan of Hussain has divided the night between worship and rest. They are preparing for what is to come, readying themselves and their families mentally and psychologically. Imam al-Hussain dispatches a letter to his brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya in Hijaz. It contains Imam al-Hussain's final will and testament. He makes a general announcement. Imam al-Hussain wants to purchase the land on which he is camped upon. The news of his intentions spreads like wildfire. Word reaches a branch of the Banu Asad, the people of the lion, living near this wilderness. They line up outside Hussein's camp to sell him the land. Imam al-Hussain smiles at them as they collect the money. This dunya, this dunya, this dunya, this world, this world, this world, hath my father divorced 3 times. And now Imam al-Hussain, like Amir al-Mu'mineen, divorces this world with a smile on his face. Imam al-Hussain purchases 4 square miles of the barren desert. He pays a princely sum of 60,000 gold dirhams. According to some manuscripts, his sister, Lady Zeinab, contributes half of that amount because she is an equal partner in his ventures. Sharikatul Hussain. Imam al-Hussain now makes a small speech to the folk of the Banu Asad, addressing the men, the women, and the children separately. We have not come here to fight. Yazid's soldiers will fight with us and we will be killed. They will not bury our bodies, and our bodies will be left to the wild animals of the desert. So I request a favor of you, O Banu Asad. Please bury our bodies. Hussain tells the youth of Banu Asad that if perhaps their elders fail, that they should come out and cover the bodies with the desert sand whilst pretending to play. Hussain entrusts the young people with a responsibility. He asks them to bear his message. He then gifts the land back to the Banu Asad on condition that Banu Asad extend hospitality to his pilgrims for 3 days. The land is purchased in the name of his son Ali al-Akbar alayhi salam. But alas, the Banu Asad, for fear of retribution, initially fail Imam al-Hussain. Hussain has foresight. It is as though he sees through time, millennia into the future. Even in death, and through his blood, he is giving life to a barren, sterile land. He is leaving a gift to this world. On this day, on the 3rd of Muharram, a city is born. In the meanwhile, Hur and his 1,000 has swollen to 10,000 and some more. The garrisons of Kufa, Qadisiyah and Nukhayla have been emptied. The companies of Hussain ibn Namir, Shimr and Umar ibn Sa'ad have entered and arrived in Karbala. Imam al-Hussain is cornered. The armies have encircled him, but now they're trespassing on his land. To elaborate more on the story of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Abu Abdullah, please welcome our guest, Sayyid Mahdi Al Modarresi, with a loud salawat. Come closer as much as you can and fill up the space from the front, please, brothers, so that those coming after you have space to sit. So once more, if you could kindly get up and move as much forward as is possible for you with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين الغرر الميامين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين وحجته على الخلائق أجمعين سيدنا وإمام زماننا وولي أمرنا مهدي هذه الأمة وطاووس أهل الجنة الحجة ابن الحسن العسكري فداه أرواح العالمين اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين يا حجة ابن الحسن يا صاحب الزمان. I want to hear your voices. يا صاحب الزمان يا صاحب الزمان يا صاحب يا صاحب الزمان عجل على ظهورك. For the hastening of the reappearance and return of the Master, the Savior, the Avenger, the mourner, the host of these gatherings for Aba Abdullah al-Hussain al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan al-Askari. Recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We've been discussing a phenomenon that Imam al-Hussain refers to in his diagnosis of one of the most debilitating diseases that afflicted the people of his time. And we've said that this applies across history. It is part of human nature to desire wellness and comfort and convenience, and to favor temptation over divine injunctions, especially when they clash, particularly when there is a conflict between these two fundamental parts of our lives. This is what we find most people engage in. They favor desire and joy and pleasure and happiness over what they deem deep down to be values that must be upheld. So simultaneously, while they'll subscribe to these values, but they will brush them aside in favor of desire. And this is not something that applies to anyone at any given phase in their lives, because we often associate desire and pleasure and the pursuit of unconditional pleasure to the youth, to people whose desires, in particular their carnal desires, their base desires, are at their peak when they are around the age of 16, 17, up to perhaps 23, 24, 25 years of age. That's when these kinds of carnal desires manifest themselves. But this is not restricted to people in that age, because desire and temptation and pleasure manifests itself in different ways in different stages of our lives. In the age of adolescence, it is carnal desires. When they grow older, it is desires that have to do with money and property. Then these temptations manifest themselves in other ways, like status and position, respect, reputation, leaving a legacy, being an object of admiration within the community. That's why people who get older, their desire for a position of dominance becomes stronger and stronger, whereas a youth might not care about that as much. They are struggling with their own demons, but the demons will always be there. They'll simply change colors and they'll manifest themselves in different ways. So it's not just the youth who have to be in this constant struggle between divine values and their base desires. It's also people who are in their midlife, people who are older. So this is a constant struggle. And we've said that one of the ways that forces of evil will try to exploit these desires is by offering concessions in the name of religion. An important caveat to add to this is that we're not saying that religion is necessarily and by definition difficult at all times, and that is why the exploitation happens. Religion is not difficult. At its core, al-Islamu sahlun yasir. Our faith, our divine revelation is not hard, although sometimes it may seem challenging, because it conflicts with our desires. And that is part and parcel of what it means to be tested and tried in this world. If it was something that was conducive to the temptations of human beings, there would be no test. There would be no struggle. There would be no tension. Everyone would follow it. There has to be a degree of difficulty involved for this to be a test. If you sat for your medical school tests and you noticed that all the questions were from grade 3 and 4, it wouldn't be a test. Anyone would get into medical school. Anyone would qualify as a physician. And the end result is that you wouldn't have qualified people to treat diseases within the community. So part of it has to do with the very nature of our test in this world. And so a degree of difficulty is required. And the exploitation doesn't always happen because of this difficulty. The exploitation happens for a number of reasons. Number one, because they're trying to take advantage of people's susceptibilities. Because people have this tension between Satan and God, these individuals, charlatans, deceivers, imposters, they will come and say, you know what, I will give you religious rubber stamps that you can use to follow Satan, but at the same time claim to follow God. And that doesn't mean that concessions that are offered by God Himself should also be avoided. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offers compromises, if you like, for people who are sick or traveling, and says that if you're in that state, you don't have to fast. You can compensate for Sawm another time. فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ, Allah says in the Holy Quran. That's a concession. That is God making religious rules easier for people who find it to be even more difficult to follow religious rules. That's perfectly legitimate. That's acceptable. In fact, it becomes binding. This concession is now wajib. If you're traveling, you're not allowed to fast. If a woman is in her menstrual cycle, she's not allowed to fast or pray. It's not even option anymore. If you are sick, you're not allowed to fast. If you do so, you'll have to then repeat the fast. In other words, you haven't followed your religious obligations. You haven't fulfilled them, right? And there are times when the concessions are optional. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you could do this or you could do that. One example of that is if you are traveling, you break your prayers that come in 4 units in half. You pray what we call qasr. However, if you are at the shrine of Imam Al Hussain, this is optional for you. If you are in Masjid Al Kufa, this becomes optional. According to some scholars, if you are in the holy city of Karbala and the holy city of Najaf, this becomes optional, according to some ulama. In other words, this concession is now optional. What is the reasoning? What is the rationale? That's another discussion for another day. Ultimately, this compromise comes and stems from within the religion itself. from within the Quran and Hadith. It's not something that comes from outside. It's not concocted. It's not manufactured. It's not made up to make life easier for people who wish to pursue their pleasures instead of being actually religious and submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's an important point to keep in mind. Not every concession has to be dismissed. Those that are offered by our scholars and are based on the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt and proper, qualified, genuine, bona fide religious jurisprudence can be followed. But if it comes from an illegitimate source, and if it goes against our established principles and the consensus of scholars, at least there is room for pause. To be on the safe side, you shouldn't follow this. So the one thing you have to look for is this person qualified to begin with? And by qualified, I mean that they are established jurists. They have been peer reviewed, not in some Western university, but in the Islamic seminaries. If this person is qualified and other scholars and jurists attest to the fact that they've reached the level of ijtihad and deductive jurisprudence, at that point, you've passed the first test. You've ticked this box. The person is qualified. Then the next stage is the view that they're articulating something that conforms with the Quran and Hadith? And you might say, well, I'm not even qualified to make that judgment. How do I know if it conforms with the Quran and Hadith? Well, the next best thing is to say, does it conform with the general consensus of other scholars? Because the safe thing to do in this case is if this opinion that comes from a qualified scholar, not someone with a PhD, but an actual qualified scholar, if it conforms with the general consensus, then you could comfortably follow it and be confident that insha'Allah, it is what God wants you to do. But if all the scholars are in one camp and this person is in a different camp, then it should give you room for pause. And the safe thing for you to do would be to be cautious and follow the consensus of the scholars. So, as I said last night, this has been tried before. This trick of providing concessions out of their back pockets in order to rubber stamp the immoral nature and the decadent state of society so as to appeal to people's desires. This has been witnessed throughout history. Other faith traditions, other religions have tried it, and look at where we are today. It is a circus of a world that we live in today. A circus. Again, we're not judging these individuals in the sense that we're condemning them to hell and whatnot. This is a scholarly discussion. No one should take offense when we say that Christians or Jews or Buddhists or Hindus or whatever, they've done these sorts of things, they've made these mistakes, they've fallen into these pits, and we should avoid that. We're not trying to be offensive. We're not trying to resort to stereotypes. We're not saying that these people are going to hell. What we're saying is that we've observed this pattern before. Let's not follow in their footsteps. And we've been warned by Rasulullah that you will follow in their footsteps, meaning the majority will do the same thing that they did. They'll employ the same tactics. Let's do what we believe to be true and right. And one of the issues that this camp has, one of the problems they suffer from, or one of the techniques, I should say, that they present in order to bend the rules, in order to provide these illegitimate concessions and compromises, is they will resort to this idea that I touched upon last night, which is that you shouldn't be bogged down by the letter of the law. right? You shouldn't take the Quran literally. You shouldn't take the hadith literally, right? It's not the letter of the law that matters, but the spirit of the law. You will always see them use this reasoning, this logic. The letter of the law, don't be literalists. Don't be ultra-orthodox in your approach. Don't be an extremist. The letter doesn't matter. It's the spirit, which sounds appealing, right? Yeah, it's the spirit that matters at the end of the day. However, that is not something that's sanctioned by our religion. The letter of the law is just as important as the spirit of the law. Both of them are equally significant and authoritative. And again, I mentioned the example of salat. If someone comes and tells you that salat is done in this very specific manner, but it's the spirit of salah that is important, not the actual rituals, that means anyone can practice yoga once a day, early in the morning, and call it salah. Would we accept that? No, because Rasulullah said, pray the way I do. And the same thing applies to every other facet of our jurisprudence. So don't fall into this trap that says, look, the spirit of the Quran is about justice. And so these rules that have to do with inheritance and so on, they conflict with justice. First of all, who's to say what is justice and what isn't justice? Equity is one thing, treating everyone equally. Justice is another. Putting someone behind bars because they committed armed robbery and keeping there in prison, confined to their cell for years and years, how is that justice? Shouldn't we just treat everyone equally? Someone had a house break-in, a thief came and robbed them of their possessions and scared the living daylights out of this individual and this family. If we're going to employ equity, meaning treating everyone equally, then the same thing should happen to them. Why throw them in jail for years and years? Why is it that in some countries a murderer is executed? Why? Ultimately, equity means to treat everyone exactly the same. Justice is different. Justice is to do the right thing. And so, doing the right thing might mean doing different things in different circumstances to different people. So to say that the spirit of the Quran is about justice, and then using that as a rationale to say that men and women should be treated equally when it comes to laws of inheritance, is a red herring. That's unacceptable. Because the Quran is emphatic that this is how the inheritance is distributed. Don't be fixated on the example. I'm not trying to discuss the laws of inheritance in Islam. It's a very complex, in fact, one of the most complex topics of discussion in jurisprudence. So don't be fixated on that. The point I'm trying to make is that one of the techniques this group of imposters and charlatans will resort to is their focus on the spirit as opposed to the letter. Why do I say that? Because this group has an antithesis. There is another camp which says the exact opposite of that. I'm not sure how to refer to them, but for now let's call them the people who follow religious superficialities, right? I don't want to call them literalists. I'll call them the ones who employ superficialities. What does that mean? You have a camp that says it's the literal words that matter more than everything else. In other words, they compromise on the spirit of religion in favor of the form and the rituals and the rites. For instance, this is a common example. You'll see someone reciting the Quran in the most beautiful voice. It's melodic. It's mesmerizing. It's intoxicating, right? A lot of people are into this now. They'll recite the Quran and they will do so with tajweed in the most impeccable manner. The way they recite the words, the way they pronounce them, absolutely beautiful. But if you ask them, if you said, well, do you even understand what you're reading? In many cases they don't. Let alone, do you apply what you're reading? In many cases, they don't. There's an interview, and I don't mean this to be like an offensive thing, but it's just to give you an example. An interview is done with Abdul Basit, Abdul Samad, famous reciter. His voice is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. And so in the interview, this woman who's not wearing hijab, she's interviewing this world famous reciter of the Quran. She says to him, do you ever listen to songs and music? And he says, of course, absolutely. She said, well, who do you listen to? And he listed a number of famous singers of his day. He's like, yeah, of course. I used to listen to this female singer before I recited the Quran. And in fact, I've used some of the techniques that I've learned from this singer when reciting the Quran, when developing my style of tajweed. And it's like, you've taken the form, you've taken the literal words of the Quran and the recitation of this sacred book, but are you even applying it? I listen to singers and I learn from them. Or another, perhaps more relevant example, when Bollywood songs are used to craft the way some of the azadari is created in some countries. What do you call that? How do you reconcile between the most immoral culture being incorporated in the aza of Aba Abdullah al-Hussain? How do you reconcile these two? It's like, once again, it's the form over the essence. So both of these camps are equally wrong. The one that says the essence is all that matters, not the form, as well as the one who says it's all about the form and the essence can take a backseat. They're both wrong. We have to have a balanced approach when it comes to religion. The form is important, so is the essence. In fact, the essence is more important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. Verily, prayer forbids acts of indecency and immorality. So when you see a group of people praying all night long and doing so in the most impeccable manner, you can literally take a ruler or a meter and measure the position of their feet, and they're perfectly aligned. In fact, before they start the prayer, they're like, Sawwu sufufakum. Line up your feet, your lines. They have to be perfect, so that when the camera and the drone hovers above and you've got the cranes and the jibs, it shows this beautiful congregation all gather around, everyone's quiet, listening to this beautiful recitation by Sheikh so-and-so as he leads the salah that was made up, but let's not, go there. And it's the holy month of Ramadan or any other time. It's in Mecca, it's in Medina. You look at it and you're like, wow, how beautiful is that prayer? Look at our prayers. You've got one muhr over here, another over there. The feet aren't aligned. And look at that prayer, mashallah. But what you're missing from the equation is that is form that's devoid of the essence. Salah is supposed to forbid from acts of immorality. Umar ibn Sa'd led his troops, all 30,000 of them, in prayer on the day of Ashura. They all lined up their feet and they stood once again in the most beautiful manner. They all prayed. They all said, Allahu Akbar. They all recited Surah Al-Hamd, which begins with multiple references to the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yet on that very same day, they prevented water from reaching the parched lips of the infants of Imam al-Hussain. And they're talking about mercy. These people performed Hajj. These people paid zakat. Not all of them, some of them did. And so what you find is that it's literally just form, ritual, rite. It's a mirage of a religion. It's a facade, is what it is. There's nothing inside. How many times have you heard in conversations with friends and family questions like these? Is the blood of Imam al-Hussain pure or impure? We won't even talk about that. How about the blood of the people who perform azadari? Is that pure? Is it impure? These kinds of questions. Dhul Janah, was the horse male or female? You might think this is ludicrous, but in the time of Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim, the supreme marja of the Shia world, a fight erupted in a particular country over this specific question, whether Dhul Janah, who was without a doubt a sacred horse, no question. Imam al-Baqir says that when the horse came back from the qatligah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain, the horse was smeared with the blood of the Imam. And when he sighed, what he was saying is, الظَّلِيمَةُ الظَّلِيمَةُ مِنْ أُمَّةٍ قَتَلَتْ إِبْنَ بِنْتِ نَبِيِّهِ. A horse like no other. But the question, this incredible horse whose loyalty to Imam al-Hussain was above and beyond anything that an animal could possess. The question was whether he was male or female. The fight erupts in a village or town between two groups of people. I don't know how it all started. For the life of me, I can't figure it out. The way I see it is maybe one camp was saying that it was male, because it's gotta be Dhul Janah, not Dhatul Janah. The name suggests it, so it has to be a male. The other side said it was a female because female horses are faster. I don't know. Whatever the reason was, this conflict engulfs this town. And it reaches the level where they fought. There was an actual fist fight, and it led to the death of several people. When I say superficialities of religion, this is what I'm referring to. What does it matter? What difference does it make? The blood, is it pure or impure? What difference does it make? What practical implication does that have for you? Was Ali al-Akbar 18 years old, or was he 23 years old? Or was he 27 years old? What difference does it make? The only difference, the only thing that matters is that Ali al-Akbar was أشبه الناس خلقا وخلقا برسول الله, as Imam al-Hussain said. He was the one who resembled Rasulullah in his speech, in his conduct, in his manner the most, and that every time we yearned. Allahu Akbar. I don't want to go into the masa'ib of Ali al-Akbar because they were some of the most heart-wrenching in Karbala. That's what matters. It's the words of Ali al-Akbar. It's his stance, it's his bravery, it's his loyalty, it's his submission, his age. You see some people accusing each other of apostasy because one of them said that no, Ali al-Akbar wasn't in fact 18 years old. He was 27 and he had a son, he had a lineage. But so what? Whether it's this or that, what difference does it make? The only time it makes a difference is when we are obsessed with superficialities as opposed to the essence. Someone reporting in his book that on the eve of Ashura, the companions of Imam al-Hussain performed ghusl. We have a report that says that. They performed ghusl. It was undrinkable water, it wasn't sanitary, right? The ghusl that they performed was performed by some of the companions. Imam al-Hussain didn't actually drink. All these things. These are discussions that then come to the fore in order to fuel this problem that's now affecting the community. Oh, he's a kafir. How dare he say this? Is he suggesting that Imam al-Hussain had access to the water? These are superficialities. Let's not be distracted by these minute details from the message of Karbala, from the teachings of Imam al-Hussain, from the fact that Imam al-Hussain and his companions gave their life for religion and for guidance. وَبَدَلَ مُهْجَتَهُ فِيك لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. Oh Allah, as we say in Ziyarat al-Arba'een, He gave you the blood of His heart so as to guide people from deviation and salvage them from losing their way and their moral compass. And so, let's not be obsessed by superficialities. There are many more examples that I can cite as to how people can be deceived by superficialities and lose their priorities, lose sight of what actually matters to them. That's why a lot of people become so naive and, dare I say, stupid enough to lose their fundamentals, to lose their priorities, to lose the spirit, to lose sight of the spirit of our religion, and end up chasing things like talismans and magic potions and resorting to dreams and interpreting those dreams. Superficialities and the obsession with them should be avoided. Always ask yourself, form is important, but essence is equally, if not more important. Let's try and balance the two together. That's what you're supposed to do. Don't compromise on either of them. That's my message. One of the groups that was very superficial in its approach, in its worldview, in its conduct, were the Khawarij. These were people who were warriors. You know how sometimes we idolize this concept of the warrior Muslim? They truly were warriors. They would call themselves the ones who have sold their soul to God. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. Right? They were the ones who said, we have sold our necks, our souls, our bodies, we've given it all in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of them were incredibly brave. We don't deny that. But look at their superficial approach to religion. We have their modern day incarnations as well, right? They would be walking and they come across this palm tree. And one of the dates, the palm tree is planted in someone's farm, but it's extended over the main road. A date has fallen down on the pavement, on the road. One of them picks up this date, puts it in his mouth. Suddenly, the rest of the group looks back and like, what have you done? This is haram. This is someone else's property. Throw it out. And so he took it out and threw it, and he's like, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. Then they kept walking. They came across a hog, wild pig. So one of them was like, that's a wild pig. So he takes his bow and arrow, shoots it, kills it. The rest of the group looks at him and they're like, you are the true manifestation of mufsidu fil ardh. You have spread corruption on earth. How dare you kill an innocent animal, a benign creature who hasn't done anything to you? How dare you spill this innocent blood? And he's like, astaghfirullah, oh God, forgive me. And he probably spent the next 3 days praying and supplicating and trying to redeem himself. Al-Khawarij, what they did to Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussain is truly unspeakable, thanks to their superficiality. In the battle of Siffin, you all know that Amir al-Mu'mineen came. It took him, I don't know how long, but the distance from Kufa to Siffin is about 1,000 kilometers. So it must have taken the troops a good few weeks to get there. How many troops did he have with him? Some have said 40,000, some have said 50,000. Imagine 50,000 men walking this entire stretch to get to this place. And the purpose was to fight with Muawiyah. Muawiyah was oppressing people, he was killing people, he was trying to unseat Amir al-Mu'mineen. He had challenged the Khilafah of the commander of the faithful, the legitimate heir of Rasulullah. And he was doing so by pillaging and murdering and killing people, Muslim, non-Muslim. So Amir al-Mu'mineen takes all of these troops and it takes them weeks to get there. Then the Imam refused to fight. Imagine Muawiyah's troops are there, waiting. The Imam says, I don't want to fight. 1 day goes by, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks. After a few weeks of waiting, and the troops, they need water, they need food, they need nourishment, they need rest. They've already spent so long traversing the terrain, the difficult terrain, and now they're just waiting. Imagine. To the point that these Khawarij came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. They said to him, بِأَبِي أَنْتَ وَأُمِّي يَا ابْنَ أَبِي طَالِبٍ. They said to him, are you unsure whether you're on the right path? Do you have any doubts? Because we don't have any doubts. We know Muawiyah is evil and that we should fight him. But it looks like you're not so sure yourself. Allahu Akbar. Amir al-Mu'mineen, it's in Nahj al-Balagha. The Imam said, Wallahi, by God, I did not wait a single day. Illa fi tama'i, except that I have this eager desire to guide them. The Imam would give sermon after sermon, speech after speech, trying to guide them to the truth. The Imam, in other words, is not there to kill people. He's there to guide them. The Imam knows that some of these people joined Muawiyah because they were deceived, because they were fooled into following this evil, wicked man, the son of Abu Sufyan, the son of Hind, the one who chewed on the liver of Hamza, the Prophet's uncle. But they came because perhaps they were in it as conscripts. They were getting paid. They were mercenaries, some of them. And some just believed what he said. They took it at face value. So the Imam is trying to guide them. He says, I didn't delay this campaign for over a month because I'm unsure, but because I'm trying to guide these people. Maybe there is one that I can guide. Maybe there's a couple of people who are sitting on the fence and I have a chance of allowing them to redeem themselves. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is Amir al-Mu'mineen. You've heard that Amir al-Mu'mineen is often referred to as a warrior. But as a warrior, the easiest thing for him to do is to launch into battle and obliterate everyone. But Amir al-Mu'mineen is a guide, first and foremost. He's not a warrior. He's someone who has a mandate from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to invite people to the truth, not to spill blood. Even in the heat of battle, see, generally speaking, battles would last for 1 day. Jamal lasted for 1 day. 1 daytime campaign, the legs of the camel were severed, the one sitting up top fell. It was the end of the battle at the hands of Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli. But the battle of Siffin lasted for 2 months. And the way it worked was the two sides, they would fight in the daytime, take a break from fighting during prayer times, and then at Maghrib, they would retreat to their positions and the fighting would stop. Those who were wounded would be treated. Those who were tired would get some rest until daybreak the next morning. A few times, Amir al-Mu'mineen, in their break as they were praying Salat al-Asr, the Imam would extend that break. He would say, stop, let's not go back to battle just yet. They would say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we just prayed our prayer, let's go. The Imam would say, no, I want to get this as close to Salat al-Maghrib so that with Maghrib time, everyone would retreat and there would be less people getting killed. The Imam is not trying to spill blood. He's trying to kill Muawiyah and remove him as a stumbling block, as something that's obstructing the view of otherwise well-meaning individuals who don't know any better. The Imam wants to get rid of this cancerous tumor. As for the rest, the Imam's not trying to send as many people to hell as possible. Surely the Imam could have easily killed more people, but the Imam is not trying to do that. So, you know the story of the Battle of Siffin. If you don't, it is definitely worth studying. A couple of years ago in Fatimiyya, I discussed it at greater length. But it's worth studying because the Battle of Siffin and the Battle of Jamal, as well as later on Nahrawan, they acted as preludes to Karbala and Ashura. A lot of the same crimes that were perpetrated in Karbala, they were also committed in those battles. Same camps, same individuals, different faces perhaps, same ideologies, same value systems. In the end, Muawiyah Amir al-Mu'mineen is so close through his top lieutenant, Malik al-Ashtar, he's close to eliminating Muawiyah and sending him to the bottomless pit of the inferno. That's when they realized their only recourse is to raise the Quran on top of spears. As soon as they do that, who comes to object to Amir al-Mu'mineen? The same ones who were saying you should fight. Don't wait. They came to the Imam. They've raised the Quran. See, the problem, let me make a point parenthetically here. The problem with both of these camps, the ones who say we seek the spirit and not the form, as well as the superficial camp, is that what they lack is submission and surrender. When you think you know better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you think that you understand religion better than the Imam, they came to Amir al-Mu'mineen. They said, how could you fight them? They're Muslims. They've just raised the Quran at the tip of their spears. The Imam said, don't be fooled by them. Ana al-Quranun natiq. I am the speaking, walking, talking Quran. These people, if they had any respect for the Quran, they wouldn't poke it with a spear, let alone use it in order to get the camp of Amir al-Mu'mineen to retreat. Anyway, they said to the Imam, if you don't stop this war, we will kill you. They actually pulled out their swords and they were about to attack Amir al-Mu'mineen. The Imam said, what do you want me to do? They said, write a letter to Malik al-Ashtar right now, tell him to retreat. So the Imam wrote the letter to Malik al-Ashtar. Malik al-Ashtar said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I'm only a stone throw away from the tent of Muawiyah. I will end this once and for all, and I will change the trajectory of human history until the day of judgment. The Imam said, no, come back. Look at the submission of Malik. You want to be inspired by Imam al-Hussain? You should be inspired by the submission of his companions. You want to be inspired? Don't say, oh, I'll go fight and kill and get killed and I want to be a warrior. No. Be a submissive servant. You start there. Be a good Muslim. Start there. Matters of war and bloodshed are complex issues. It's not something that you can decide on your own. But when it comes to personal matters of religion, those are obvious. Look at the risala of your marja'. I don't care who he is. I dare you to find a marja' who says that committing slander against someone behind their back is halal. In fact, we have traditions that say committing slander behind someone's back, behind your believing brother or sister, committing ghiba, traditions tell us is worse than fornicating 70 times inside the Kaaba. Ghiba. That's common sin. Start there. Start with the basics of your faith, the basics of your religion, the personal matters. That's how we're inspired by Ashura. Not by becoming a warrior wherever you deem it appropriate, wherever you think it's appropriate to fight. These people thought that it was appropriate to fight. Now all of a sudden, no, don't fight. So Malik al-Ashtar comes back. Then they say to Amir al-Mu'mineen, again, I want to cut the story very short. They say to the Imam, we want Abu Musa al-Ash'ari to be your emissary, the chief negotiator on your behalf. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, I know Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari is a liar, he's an imposter. La'natullahi alayh. He was someone who initially told the people of Kufa, because he was one of the chiefs there, he said to the people of Kufa, don't fight with Ali, don't go with Ali ibn Abi Talib to fight Muawiyah. Because I heard Rasulullah say that whenever there is a fitna, just sit in your home. Ammar ibn Yasir got up. He said, you heard that from Rasulullah? He said, yes, by Allah. The Prophet said you should sit in your home, you shouldn't speak. He said to him, well, if you've heard that from Rasulullah, how about you go sit in your home and stop speaking? And I'll tell everyone what everyone has heard from Rasulullah. Al-haqqu ma'a Ali wa aliyun ma'a al-haq yaduru ma'ahu haythu madar. Whatever Ali ibn Abi Talib says, that's what the Prophet said. As for you, go and sleep on your couch. This man suddenly wants to be the chief negotiator for Ali ibn Abi Talib because the Khawarij insisted that he should be. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, no, I want to send Ibn Abbas, I want to send someone else who's smarter, someone who's skilled. They insisted. Abu Musa goes. He disrobes himself and he dishonors himself. And he does what he does. When he comes back, Amir al-Mu'mineen is removed. Muawiyah is placed as the Khalifa. The same Khawarij come back to Amir al-Mu'mineen. They're like, see what you did? See what happened? You shouldn't have done that. The Imam said, you told me. You insisted. You threatened me. They said, well, you should have fought us when we made a mistake by saying that you should send Abu Musa and that you shouldn't continue to fight. We made a mistake. Your job was to prevent us from doing this. You didn't. You have to do istighfar. You've committed a sin. One of our scholars says that when I reached this point of reading about the history of Siffin, he said, I read this passage and I couldn't take it anymore. I closed the book and I spent the entire night crying. They said to Ali ibn Abi Talib that you have committed a sin. Do istighfar. The Imam said, Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. They said, no, that's not enough. You became a kafir. When you failed to do your job, you became a kafir. You now have to go into the desert and seek forgiveness from Allah and rejoin the religion of Islam. Astaghfirullah is not enough. When you think you know more than the Imam, when you precede the Imam and walk in front of him as opposed to behind him. The same thing continued when Amir al-Mu'mineen, I don't want to mention the story of the battle with the Khawarij because that would take too much time. However, when the Imam left this world, he left a set of instructions. One of them was لا تقاتلوا الخوارج من بعدي. Don't fight these people after me. One of the reasons that scholars have stipulated for why the Imam said don't fight the Khawarij even though he fought with them is that the Khawarij, being these maniacal, suicidal warriors, they became a thorn in the side of Muawiyah. They were opposed to Muawiyah as well. And so 100 of them would ambush the troops of Muawiyah and they would completely annihilate them. Then in another place, 50 of them would go. Suicide bombers, literally. They were crazy. And they were doing it out of conviction, a false conviction, but they were fighters who really believed in their cause, as opposed to the troops of Muawiyah who were just conscripts. If the balance of their bank account wasn't updated, they'd probably desert their position and go. So they didn't want to die. Whenever the Khawarij attacked Muawiyah's troops, Muawiyah's men, they would completely incinerate them. And so maybe one of the reasons Amir al-Mu'mineen said, don't fight the Khawarij after me, was so that they would remain to cause trouble for Muawiyah and destabilize his government. But here's what happened. Imam al-Hasan said, I'm not going to fight Muawiyah. He refused to fight the Khawarij. He signed the treaty. A few people whose names, if I mention to you tonight, you will probably say, Salamullahi alayh. Companions of Imam al-Hasan. Without a doubt, you honor them and you respect them. They wrote to Imam al-Hussain, listen carefully. They said to him, your brother unfortunately signed this treaty and failed to do what he's supposed to do. Which is what? He has to fight. Justice! Who are you to say what's justice? Who are you to say whether this is the right time to fight or not? We have to fight. This is evil. Muawiyah is an unjust, immoral guy. Your brother didn't do this. We want you to do it. Subhanallah. Imam al-Hussain didn't even respond to their letter. Then Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam was killed. He was poisoned. They wrote to Imam al-Hussain again. We offer our condolences, Ya Aba Abdullah. However, I'm sure, or we're sure, that you didn't fight the Khawarij because, out of respect for your brother, because he's an older brother and you don't want to go against his word and whatnot. Well, now's the time. Imam al-Hussain didn't even respond to their letter. So what do? They decided to go and fight the Khawarij themselves. Who gave you permission to go fight? Islam teaches us to be warriors. Says who? Islam teaches you to be submissive. But there's injustice. So what? You have to seek permission from your Imam. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, لا تحاربوا الخوارج من بعدي. لا تقاتلوا الخوارج من بعدي. The Imam of your time, Imam al-Hasan, said, don't fight with them. They serve a good purpose. Imam al-Hussain is saying, don't do it. They went ahead and agreed with Ziyad ibn Abi, who was the governor of Kufa. Because Muawiyah's troops don't have it in them to fight these ideological warriors, who's the best person to fight them? The Shia. Poor Shia, who are also ideologically driven, who are also, strong and fearless and whatnot. Ziyad ibn Abi, the father of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, he sees this opportunity and the naivete and the stupidity of these so-called Shia. He said, come, I'll pay you the money, I'll give you the weapons, you go do the bidding and the fighting on our behalf. You want to fight the Khawarij, they're evil, they hated Amir al-Mu'mineen, they hated Imam al-Hasan, Imam al-Hussain, and they're committing acts of injustice, go fight them. Without so much as seeking the permission of the Imam, these people, so-called Shia, went and fought with the Khawarij. And so what they did ultimately was that they took out the element that caused trouble for Muawiyah. The Khawarij, who were problematic and who were a destabilizing force for Muawiyah, they were eliminated by these Shia. And in the end, Muawiyah came and obliterated the entire country of Iraq from the Shia. He oppressed them to the max. See the stupidity? See the lack of submission and surrender? So, then it was these same people who wrote to Imam al-Hussain, now that Yazid has become the Khalifa, Muawiyah is dead. Some of them were Khawarij. There were good people who wrote to Imam al-Hussain as well. Habib ibn Mudahir wrote to Imam al-Hussain. Abis ibn Shabib al-Shakiri wrote to Imam al-Hussein, right? You had Muslim ibn Awsaja wrote to Imam al-Hussein. You had the good, and you had the bad, and you had the ugly, and you had the convicts, and you had the ones with the rap sheet, and you had the Khawarij. Everybody wrote to Imam al-Hussein that the time is ripe, we are ready, the troops have amassed, we want you to come and fight. We want to unite with you and support you so as to eliminate Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Now, the message that I want you to take with you, brothers and sisters. You want to be inspired by Imam al-Hussein and his companions and his troops. Observe surrender to the Imam of your time. Be submissive to the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. Don't cherry pick whatever suits you. Don't say, oh, Imam al-Hussein teaches 1, 2, 3, 4. The first thing Imam al-Hussein teaches is that you should obey the Imam of your time. When you look at some of the companions of Imam al-Hussein, their number one quality was their surrender to their Imam. Abil Fadl al-Abbas could have easily gone and fought and perhaps even won. He might have been able to repel the enemy. He is, after all, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the son of al-Baneen, al-Kilabiyya. But look at the submission. Did you know, inshallah we'll talk more about this on the night of Abil Fadl al-Abbas, there is not a single reference in our historical account of the day of Ashura and prior to that, where Abil Fadl al-Abbas so much as offers a suggestion to Imam al-Hussein. Not one. Maybe we should take this route instead of that. Maybe we should do this instead of that. Maybe we should form the troops in this manner and not that. Maybe we should appoint this person over that. Never, never. Abil Fadl al-Abbas is standing next to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein the whole time, waiting for instructions, waiting for his orders. The only time was when he came and said, Ya Aba Abdullah, I can't take this anymore. The cries of the children, I can't take this anymore. Even then, the Imam gives him orders that would be more suited to a foot soldier, not his top lieutenant, not his 4-star general. Go fetch some water. Surrender, submission. That's how you're inspired. Anyway, Imam al-Hussein had some loyal companions in Kufa, the likes of Habib and Muslim and Abis and others. The Imam could have said, imagine, he could have said to the Kufans that whoever wants to follow me should pledge their allegiance to Habib ibn Mudahir. He could have done that. Habib ibn Mudahir is someone who is worthy of Imam al-Sadiq standing before his grave and saying, Bi abi anta wa ummi. May my parents be ransomed for you. He's worthy of that. And that's what we say, and that's what the Imam said. So the Imam could have said, whoever follows Habib follows me. Whoever disobeys Habib disobeys me. But he didn't. He could have said the same thing about Muslim. He could have said the same thing about Abis. He could have said the same thing about others. He didn't. In fact, the Imam could have said that these 10 individuals whose names I am including in this letter, a council, you should pledge your allegiance to them, you should follow them, and wait for instructions from them. If they decide that we should take up arms, you should. If they don't, you should wait. He could have done that. But no. You see, when it comes to matters of war and peace, taking up arms, armed struggle, when it comes to this, it requires someone of a different caliber. Someone whose obedience to the Imam is at its absolute apex. Someone like Muslim ibn Aqil. When the Imam sent him, he wrote a letter that he delivered to the people of Kufa. And he said the following, Inni ba'ithun ilaykum akhi wa ibn ammi wa thiqati min ahli bayti Muslim ibn Aqil. O people of Kufa, you should know who is in your midst right now. I am sending to you my brother, Allahu Akbar, and my cousin, and the most trusted member of my family. This was Muslim. So listen to him. Whatever he says, follow him. Shaykh al-Saduq narrates a hadith. Allahu Akbar. Tonight we want to appeal to the one who didn't witness Karbala, but he was present there. Shaykh al-Saduq mentions the hadith that one day Amir al-Mu'mineen asked the Holy Prophet, he said to him, Ya Rasulullah, Atuhibbu aqilan? Do you love my brother Aqil? So the Holy Prophet said, Inni uhibbuhu hubban. I love him, or hubbain. I love him for two reasons. Hubban lahu wa hubban li Abi Talibin lah. I love him for him, and I love him because Abu Talib loved him as well. Then the Prophet added a couple of more points. He said also, Ya Ali, Ya Abul Hasan wal Hussain, you should know that Aqil will bear a son, and this son will be killed in the way of your son, Muslim ibn Aqil. Then the Prophet said something, and this is a glad tiding for all of you tonight, and it sets the stage for his musibah. The Holy Prophet said, فَتَدْمَعُ عَلَيْهِ عُيُونُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Believers will cry for the son of Aqil, and the angels will mourn for Muslim ibn Aqil, and I will intercede for them. Allahu Akbar. In the ziyarah of Muslim ibn Aqil, we visit him in a manner that is very similar to the ziyarah of Abil Fadl al-Abbas. We say, Assalamu alayka ayyuha al-abdu salih. And then the number one feature of Muslim, al-muti'u lillahi wa li rasulihi wa li amir al-mu'mineen wal Hasan wal Hussain. His number one trait was his obedience to Allah, the Prophet, the Messenger, and to Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam al-Hasan and the Imam of his time, Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. When you enter his shrine, for those of you who have been to Masjid al-Kufa, one of the thoughts that comes through my mind is that they try to humiliate Muslim. But when you enter and step into his sacred mausoleum, you are filled with pride. You see how Allah has honored him, and you feel a tendency to repeat this verse, Lillahi al-izzatu wa lil-mu'mineen. This is honor. This is Muslim. He prayed Salat al-Asr. He had 20,000 people with him when he first went to the governor's mansion. 20,000. As soon as he finished the prayer, he looked behind and there was nobody. Not a single person. He went from being one of the people who grew up in this city, the nephew of Ali ibn Abi Talib, someone who was well known. He was the emissary of Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. He went from someone whose hands were used to offer a pledge of allegiance by 20,000 armed men to now having nobody. People ran away from him. If he so much as looked at someone, they would turn away and enter their home and lock their doors. Muslim ibn Aqil became instantaneously lonely in the city of Kufa. The next day he spends the night in prayer. The next day, with the crack of dawn, Muslim ibn Aqil goes outside. There are at least 100 troops who have come to fight him. How does someone survive an ambush by 100 people? How? But this was the nephew of Ali. The nephew of Ali is someone who's not bothered by the multitudes, by the numbers. And so he fights them with valor. He fights them with courage and bravery. But then he is wounded. He starts to bleed from head to toe. And even in the end, Ibn al-Ash'ath, Muhammad ibn al-Ash'ath, may Allah curse him and this accursed family who were involved in so many atrocities against the family of Rasulullah. The brother of Ju'da, the one who poisoned Imam al-Hasan. Muhammad ibn al-Ash'ath said to him, Ya Muslim, surrender, don't get yourself killed. But Muslim continued to fight to the point that they asked for reinforcements. When the governor heard that they're asking for 100 more troops, he said, you're only fighting one man. What is wrong with you? This should have been over an hour ago. So the leader of the contingent wrote back. He said, you think you've sent me to a grocer in Kufa? You have sent me to a regular peasant? You have sent me to the nephew of Ali ibn Abi Talib. I want 100 more troops. And so they began, in addition to the fighting, a group of them went on the rooftops and they began throwing fire and pelting rocks in the direction of Muslim. Al-Khawarizmi is a Sunni historian. He has written a maqtal of Imam al-Hussain. In that maqtal, he says that when they began pelting him with stones and fire, ibtasama Muslim. Muslim smiled, which to me, the way I interpret this, is that he thought to himself, better me than Abu Abdullah al-Hussain. He realized that martyrdom was near. He fought and fought. In the end, some have said that they dug a hole, he fell into it, and that's when they overpowered him. Others have said that he surrendered. And if he did surrender, I think the reason he did that is to buy a little bit more time so that he could send a message back to Abu Abdullah al-Hussain and warn him about what had happened in Kufa. They capture Muslim. Hundreds of people have been fighting him. Ajarakallah, baqiyat Allah. They take him to the governor's mansion. Imagine when you're bleeding so much, you become so thirsty. He asks for a cup of water. They bring him a cup. He tries to drink from it, but they had cut his upper lips. He was gushing with blood. The blood quickly mixed with the water. It became impure. He couldn't drink it. He gave it back. They brought another cup. He tried to drink from it once again. It was filled with blood. They tried a third time. It was filled with blood. So Muslim returned the cup and didn't drink. It's as if Abu Abdullah al-Hussain wanted Muslim to reach the same honor and the same station as himself and his companions by dying while thirsty. He didn't drink a drop of water. Then he turned to Ibn al-Ash'ath. He said to him, do you have any last wishes before you are killed by the governor? He said, yes, I have one wish. Take this money. All I ask you to do is to write to Abu Abdullah and tell him not to come to Kufa with his women and children. رحم الله من نادى ومسلما. Oh my master Muslim, oh oppressed one, oh Shaheed. Muhammad ibn al-Ash'ath took the money, but the accursed man never did, never acted on his instructions. Then they took Muslim ibn Aqil to the rooftop. They said to him, the governor Ibn Ziyad has ordered for you to be beheaded. So Muslim ibn Aqil looked in the direction of Karbala. They saw his lips moving. Someone said, I heard him say, Sallallahu alayk, Ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayk, Ya Ibn Rasulullah. It's his last desperate attempt to try and warn the Imam against coming. He then cried. They said to him, "You're not someone who would be seen crying at the point of death." He said, "I'm not crying for myself. I'm crying because I wrote to the Imam saying that Kufa is ready. Kufans have pledged their allegiance. Come, Ya Aba Abdullah, we're waiting for you. I am crying for the Imam and the women and the children." I say, peace be upon you, O Muslim. You were the man who, as long as you were alive, the women and children felt safe. And when news of your death reached the camp of Aba Abdullah, it became almost empty, except for a few dozen loyal men. They all deserted Aba Abdullah. Muslim ibn Aqil said his salam. Then they severed his head. Then threw his body to the ground. Then they began dragging it along the streets and alleyways of Kufa. Muslim said his salam to Aba Abdullah. We all know that when someone says salam, you have to respond to him. Do you know when Imam Al-Hussain responded to Muslim? When it is said in the Maqatil, Aba Abdullah stood there all alone. فَنَظَرَ يَمِينًا وَشِمَالًا. He looked to the right, he looked to the left. فَلَمْ يَرَ أَحَدًا. There was no one left. So the Imam called them out by name. Ya Muslim ibn Aqil, Ya Hani ibn Urwa, Ya Habib ibn Abu Dhahir, Ya Muslim, Ya Zuhair, Ma li arakum la tujibun. Why don't you answer me? Why, Ya Aba Abdullah, why are you calling out their names? Ashura is getting closer, brothers and sisters. We're getting closer to the musibah. Ya Aba Abdullah, if we asked him, why do you call out their names? To come and help you? No. هذه بنات رسول الله. Look at the daughters of Rasulullah, how they're shaking and shivering and crying out of fear. Hussain!
Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain, Hussain, Ya Hussain. जिससे नाम मौला सिरे पे हाथ मारना है, मातम करना है, वो एक सब बना ले नाम मौला. हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन. ज़हरा जाया दासरा गाज़ी है. ज़हरा जाया दासरा गाज़ी. अरे खोया करबल, खोया करबल, होया करबल दे विच जुदा गाज़ी. ज़हरा जाया दासरा गाज़ी है. ज़हरा जाया दासरा गाज़ी है. ज़हरा जाया दासरा ہے زہرا جایا داس ہے زہرا جایا داسرا ہاں زہرا جایا داسرا ہے ہویا کربل ہویا کربل ہویا کربل دے وچ جدا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا سارے نام مولا مل کے شریک ہوں گے پرسے میں ہے زہرا جایا داسرا ہے زہرا جایا آواز سے بولا نام مولا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا ہے ہویا کربل ہویا کربل ہویا کربل دے وچ جدا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا داسرا زہرا جایا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا داسرا اج بھی بلتے حسین رون دیے 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 ہاتھ میرے قید تو چھڑا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا سر تو زینب دے لہ گئی چادر 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 جدو مقتل نو ٹر پیا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا نام مولا بلند آواز سے نام مولا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا جگہ تو حسین کو مارے چھ جگہ تو حسین کو مارے چھ جگہ تو حسین کو مارے چھ جگہ تو حسین کو مارے پھر بھی پورا نہ مل سکا غازی چھ جگہ تو حسین کو مارے چھ جگہ تو حسین کو مارے پھر بھی پورا نہ مل سکا غازی زہرا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا سارے نام مولا مل کے پرسوں میں شریک ہوئیے ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا میری چادر میری چادر میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے 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 میری چادر میری چادر میری چادر دی تو بقا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا زہرا جایا داسرا میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے میری چادر خدا دا پردہ ہے میری چادر میری چادر میری چادر دی تو بقا غازی زہرا جایا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا داسرا شمر رج رج شمر رج رج حسین کو مارے 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 ارے جاڑ دائے نہیں رے غازی شمر رج رج حسین کو مارے شمر رج رج حسین کو مارے جاڑ دائے نہیں رے غازی زہرا جایا مل کے نانو والا زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا سرا غازی زہرا جایا زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہویا کربل ہویا کربل ہویا کربل دے وچ جدا غازی زہرا جایا داسرا غازی ہے زہرا جایا مل کے نام مولا شریک ہوں گے پرسوں میں سارے مل کے ساتھ دیجئے ہے زہرا جایا داسرا غازی زہرا جایا کر کے ماتم رضا بقیے وچ 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 آپ روندی اے فاطمہ غازی زہرا جائیں سرا غازی زہرا جائیں سرا غازی زہرا اے زہرا جائیں ہے زہرا جائیں داسرا غازی زہرا جائیں غازی زہرا جائیں داسرا ہے زہرا جائیں داسرا کر کے ماتم رضا بقیے وچ کر کے ماتم رضا بقیے وچ ہے کر کے ماتم رضا بقیے وچ کر کے ماتم رضا بقیے وچ آپ روندی اے فاطمہ غازی زہرا جائیں حیا لا خیر العمل حیا لا خیر حیا لا خیر العمل ہے خیال خیر العمل خیر العمل خیال یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین خیال خیر العمل خیال ہے خیال خیر العمل خیال یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین وہ عابد بیمار تھا ہاں وہ عابد بیمار تھا وہ عابد ہے چلنے سے جو لاچار تھا چلنے سے اور شام کا بازار تھا اور شام کا بازار تھا اور مصطفیٰ کی بیٹیاں مولا حق امام یا حسن حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام حسن حسین 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 شبیر کی بولا ڈلی شبیر کی سن کے اے شبیر کی بولا ڈلی شبیر پہ جو شاہ کے پلی سینے پہ جس کی ابابن میں جلی جس ماتا بھی ماتا جس کی جس کی بن میں جلی منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان مولا حق امام یا حسن
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا نبي الله. السلام عليك يا بائس الهدى. السلام عليك يا صاحب السكينة المدفون بأرض المدينة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا أم المؤمنين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا سيد الوصيين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا بنت محمد. السلام عليك يا قرة عين الرسول. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا محمد، يا حسن بن علي الولي الناصح السيد الزكي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا زينب الحسين. السلام عليك يا عباس الحسين المقطوع اليدين. السلام عليك يا تسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين: علي بن الحسين زين العابدين وقرة عين الناظرين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا باب الحوائج يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس. السلام عليك يا أيها المدفون بأرض توس، السلطان العرب والعجم، يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى الرضا الراضي بالقدر والقضاء. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي التقي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الحادي النقي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي الذكي العسكري. السلام عليك يا بقية الله. السلام عليك يا حجة الله. السلام عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. عجل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، واجعلنا من خير أعوانه وأنصاره وشيعته والمستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم جميع أهل البيت ورحمة الله وبركاته. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.